Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. I know a lot of you are following what's going on right now with the Texas GOP and their new party platform down there in Texas. I know you're following it because you're sending me questions about it. You're talking to me about it in the live chat. And you're asking me, what do I think about it, and what do I think will be the effect of this, like maybe the ripple effect, on gun rights and the conservative community. Because let's face it, they went a little schizo down there. They've done things I don't think they should do. They've done things that I think sets the Republican Party back about 50 years. But here's the thing. I don't think it's as big a deal as the media is portraying it right now. This is a bunch of fringe people. These are the people that are so devoted, they're so fanatical that they actually show up at conventions and things. I don't have time for that. Do you have time for that? No, these are the fringe. These are the radicals. If you look, that wasn't a very big building. It wasn't very full. A lot of the seats were empty, especially the upper areas were all empty. So it wasn't really a large number of Republicans, considering it's Texas, for God's sakes. So I think it's kind of overblown. I think whenever you get any group like this together, it tends to be the fringe elements. And down in Texas right now, what they're doing that a lot of people have been asking me about and a lot of people are worried about is they've become very openly anti-gay and in some ways anti-civil rights. They want to get rid of some civil rights protections for voting for blacks and Hispanics. They have declared gays abnormal and trans people also. They've just done some really hateful things, from an outside perspective. But like I said, does this represent the entire Republican Party of Texas? No, and definitely not the U.S. Like I said, it's radicals. You go to one of these groups meets and you're going to see stuff like this. It's just the way it is. Just like if you go to the opposite, like if you went to an extreme woke, Democratic get-together in, like, say, California, you might walk away thinking, well, every 6-year-old should get a sex change if they're a boy just because they're a boy, so that they don't grow up to be men, and that they should give their lunch money to the black kids at school as reparations, even though they never did anything wrong. You'll hear all kinds of weird stuff. It's just the way it is. You can't judge anything by the extremes. That's just how it is. And whenever anybody doesn't like something, they choose the extreme example and they show it to you. Like covering this heavily. If you went to another meeting on the left, you'd see a lot of crazy stuff there. Now, the leftist stuff seems to be more self-damaging. To me, the stuff they want you to do would screw you up. Whereas the right, they want to damage other people sometimes. They don't like gays, they don't like blah, they don't like what. And I think a lot of that comes from just, if you paid attention to that crowd, I think the average age was about 106. So there are a lot of people in the Republican Party right now that are angry that their party is becoming more inclusive, etc. And they want to nip it in the bud before they die. And they ain't got but like 6 weeks till then, so they got to get it done fast. So like I said, extremes on both sides, and I think people focus on them. Like when camera crews go to a gay pride festival. Do they go to the lesbian mothers booth or the, gay dads or whatever? No, they go over, they find some guy in a tutu and a G-string dancing on a float, and that's what they film, and they try to represent that as the community. And it's no different with other things like politics. So like I'm saying, I don't think it's as big a deal as most people think. But with that being said, and taking up most of my video here with my preamble, I want to address what people are asking me, the question, what is going to be the ripple effects on the community, the gun community, the conservative community? Well, I don't foresee any, because I don't think anything is going on there that a lot of people on the far other side didn't already think was the case in Texas. So I don't think it's going to really alter anything. But I do think it's an example of why, and I have always stressed this, why people that are gay, black, Hispanic, Muslim, whatever in this country, and you're a good law-abiding citizen, why you would ever go out and not be armed. You clearly have a target on you. There are some pretty disgusting people out there that would hurt you simply because of who you are or what you are. Not because you've done anything wrong or you've harmed anyone, just because they don't agree with your existence. And if you want to use what happened in Texas as an example of how a lot of people in the Republican Party, especially the older people, and some of the, the stupider people, don't like gays. Now, a lot of it these days is being stirred up by people on the far left saying that, you should be given gender reassignment options to 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds and stuff, which is ridiculous. And that's stirring up anti-trans sentiment. And I don't understand why the gay and trans thing is linked together so tightly. I think most gay people don't understand most trans issues because they're not trans. And I don't think most of them would support forcing these agendas onto children. That's for sure. So I think that there's a lot of false equivalencies here. But like I said, as far as gun rights, gun community, conservative community, I think this should foster gun rights. If you're gay, black, Muslim, like I said, you're a target. There are people out there who hate you still to this day. Especially if you're gay or trans. It's still okay to hate you, obviously. Because, the Republicans are getting away with it. They would never, in their platform, say, well, we think black people bear the mark of Cain, so they shouldn't be allowed to vote. No, they would never say that. They'd be torn down. People would come and drag them out of their houses. But they'll say bad things about gay people and trans people and lump them together, which I don't understand. Like I said, two totally different things. But in the end, like I said, this is just an example of how there are people that do not like you. They will hurt you if they get the opportunity. They don't consider you people. So exercise your Second Amendment rights. That's what it's for. It's for the disenfranchised. It's for the weak. So that they can stand on a level ground with their oppressors. And that takes many forms at many levels. The oppressor can be the government. The oppressor can be law enforcement, or the oppressor can be a bunch of rednecks that want to go out and gay bash or trans bash. Guns are the equalizer. If you are someone that is a target, you are not living in a perfect world. Bad people exist. Acknowledge that and say, hey, I think 90% of the people I meet every day are going to be respectful of me, my situation, my choices, etc. But there's going to be that small percentage that are going to be a danger to me. And I'm going to be prepared to defend myself. I can't understand why every minority doesn't do that. And I understand that historically, the right has not been very inclusive of gays, blacks, Hispanics, etc. But I think that's changing. And also, I don't think you have to be Republican or conservative to recognize that you should be armed. It's the best way to defend yourself and protect your rights. And for people that are on the right, we should always be very quick to encourage that. Like say, hey, you hate Republicans, even though I am one, and blah, blah, blah. Well, here's what you should do. You should be armed. Even if you agreed with everything that the Republican Party in Texas said, when it comes to gun rights, if you're truly a Second Amendment person, you should say to anyone on the other side, if this angers you, this is a perfect example of why you should exercise your Second Amendment rights. Doesn't matter if you agree with what the Republicans are saying, or you don't like gays, or you don't like trans. Put that aside when you're dealing with your feelings about the Second Amendment. Say, you know what? You should be carrying a gun. Grow that tent. And then that one, I think when you grow the tent, even if it's just for the gun community, you grow the tent for the conservative and the liberal communities too, because then they get together on one issue, they come together on guns and they talk about other things. And they might realize, hey, we're not as different as the politicians want to make us feel like we are. If we stopped paying attention to their stupid hot button issues, we'd probably come up with solutions to where we didn't need them quite so much anymore. And they didn't get to live their life in an ivory tower like they do now. So they don't want that. No one in charge wants that. But I think this is the perfect opportunity. Like I said, Regardless of whether you think what's going on in Texas is big and it's representative of the party or not, I don't think it matters when it comes to gun rights. I think this is a perfect example where you could bring people into the fold as far as guns are concerned by pointing out that yes, people like this exist, and yes, you're a target, and yes, you should be able to defend yourself. Because wishing for a perfect world doesn't do you any good when someone's kicking the shit out of you in a parking lot. And it doesn't allow you to save your partner, significant other, family, whatever, when they're kicking the shit out of you in a parking lot. Good wishes doesn't do that. A small pistol in your pocket can change that night completely. And that's what we need to get across to people. Regardless of how we feel about other things, like I said, if we bring people together on the second, I think we can work through a lot of other things and realize we're not that different. And with that being said, I am out of here. Thanks for coming. I do appreciate you being here. I hope to see you here again tomorrow. Until then, I just want to remind everyone out there, especially if you're a part of a targeted minority, to always carry and stay safe until I see you again.